Alright, I'm very reluctant to make this video because it's so long, but this is the Bayport rack, and these are all going to be from Pine Island to the Bayport rack. And what I want to do is show all the different appearances that Bayport rack shows. Um, the size of it, and these are always at full zoom. I make it a point to get there and do full zooms. Um, And the other thing is I'm a low perspective kind of guy. I like to get low to the water. Now, what changes here a lot of times is the tides. The tides either are up high, down low. So you'll see the difference where rocks are showing at the bottom, other times not. Um, but this is all of my footage from 2020 of the different appearances of this bird rack. Sometimes you'll see that the mirroring starts out in front of it, and when the mirroring starts out in front of it, it is blocking out quite a bit. There's 7 horizontal um, support beams going across, where here you can only see 4, and then the 5th one and 6th one and 7th one are all being compressed in the center. You can even see the birds mirroring, and what it does is it gives you the appearance that this is sinking. I do believe that things do get sunk more than raised. Now, there is what they call towering, which is very possible. Well, actually, I've got proof of that too. But the thing is when I make these long videos, I don't get people's interest too much. So this is really for the researchers, the people that are researching this phenomenon of how things just seem to appear different. They get magnified, um, mirrored, and that's one of the things that you want to look at is just above the visible water surface, what this bird rack looks like, um, when it's being mirrored. Now, a lot of times I'll get Globers, they'll say, oh, you're completely out of focus, your focus stinks. Well, apparently they had no idea how to focus a camera. Because even though I try to put my cameras on autofocus most of the time, I do have to tweak the focus now and then. But some days I can zoom right out there and perfectly everything's under focus. Um, Visibilities plays a big role. When you have the best visibility, um, the bird rack does seem to be smaller. It seems to be further away, and the horizon seems to be higher. And that's one thing that I'd say that this mirroring effect, it can happen up to you, happen close to you, or happen farther away. And each time it happens farther away, everything out in the distance can get obscured by that mirroring effect. Now, I also look at how the horizon and the water itself can be compressed, which basically the boats that are going farther well past this bird rack, it will appear that they're riding on the same surface line, whether the boat's far out or whether the boat's close up. They all seem to be riding on the same water line, even though you can watch the boats get smaller and smaller and smaller on that same horizon line. And we know that that same horizon line is not blocking out the bottom of the boat, but it's just pulling everything down. Uh, it's displacing it downward, is how I look at it. And sometimes I set back farther, but that corner right there is my normal spot that I set in. But there's certain times where if it's windy, I'll back up to the observation deck, or there's a light post out there with a big concrete thing. I will sit by that to block the wind. As you'll see, some of these are kind of shaky because the wind's blowing. You got a zoom camera with 125 times zoom, but you can obviously see that the shape, the size is constantly changing. So I always say to myself, will the real Bayport bird rack please stand up? And this is the Bayport entrance rack, which is approximately 3.5 miles away from me. And I did have video of the bird rack up close, but if you've been following my channel, I'm sure that you will, um, you've seen the footage that I have when I went out to all the Bayport or all the bird racks and got their ground-based uh, through the ground-based system, um, ground positioning system. I was able to get their coordinates, and that um, footage right there basically shows 7 slots across it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Seventh one's missing. So the bird rack itself has been pulled down somewhat. And here's some, there's some birds right there that were, like magnified, or mirrored so much they look magnified, but you can see that this bird rack looks like it's just floating in the air. It's not. This is where that mirroring starts closer to me, probably about 2 miles. And look at how it bends that light up, because all you're seeing is a reflection or a mirror image of the bird rack above, down at the bottom. So it's like putting a mirror halfway up that bird rack and on a tilt, so it's angled upwards, so it's bending that light upwards and redirecting your line of sight to it. Again, here I am at my low spot, zoom out, and now I get a different one again. Different appearances almost every day. This is constantly changing. Again, no matter where I set, if I'm set up at the same spot or not, I get these different appearances. And I always say that some days when I get really good visibility, I get good visibility for 3 miles, and then after that, it's mirrored. Everything beyond that bird rack is mirrored. All the weather conditions make it change. Different humidity, different water temperature, and different angle of light too. I gotta admit that, and how much light comes down. That always makes things change, because some days we have clouds, some days we have haze, and that haze and everything does obstruct your vision. So it's always something to think about. Now, I've been down lower than this and was able to see all of those islands. Look at here, these boats are completely gone. They're hiding. Now, I've sped a lot of this up so I could try to make this as short as possible, but you can kind of see some of these boats. They're just mirroring themselves, and they're cut off. And this is a big time cutoff right here. Look at this cutoff. I mean, it's like the surface of the water is magnified upward, while the bird rack itself is being displaced downward. Now, I'm not any lower to the water than I was before, folks. So it's a big change in what you see and how you see it. Again, there's a boat going by there, and you can hardly see it. Now I had my light turned up a little bit too high on this part, but the background was very bright to begin with. Now, I'm not always in that same exact spot, so the angle might change. Like I said, I move back or I move off to the side. I try to get out of the windbreak, and but it doesn't change my height very much. I'm usually got my camera down at 28 inches up on that seawall. But that seawall, again, sometimes the water can actually come right over that seawall. And you'll see in one of the bits of footage here why I don't always get in that spot, because it fills in with water. And I don't want to really be setting my tripod up in water every day. I have set it in the water, but I don't want to do it every day. Now, I got a little piece here where I leave the audio on. I'm going to let it play.
Okay, I'm up on the deck. There's my other camera down there doing a time lapse. shoes. Trip over everything. Just want to show them up on the deck. Got myself all out of level. But I wanted to show how this can be magnified. And that's why.
Okay, so again, I've been down basically right at the bottom of the water, 28 inches off the water, and was able to catch all of these islands, see them perfectly sitting in the water. But even this particular day, being up higher, much higher too, the deck is about 4 feet, and then I've got my tripod up uh, about 5 feet, so I'm well above the water. But yet, here everything's getting cut off. Pelican sitting up there, perched up there, enjoying his bird's eye view. And then, even check this out. Even with me being up on that bird rack, there's the Bayport rack, and you'll see me focusing in on it as best as I can. Um, and you then, of course, we do have distortion all the time, but look at the difference of it. And you can see its mirror image. You can literally see how that light is being bent upward. And again, it's just totally deceiving. It's an illusion. It's a deception of where the true horizon line really is. Now, I've used a level, my virtual horizon, and I've determined that my eye level to that bird rack is literally above the bird rack. And that's what a lot of concavers don't understand is, finding eye level is probably one of your most important things when you go out and do these observations. But you also have to do the eye level thing on your best day of visibility in order to really determine it, because sometimes you can put your lens up there or your level on the camera, get it perfectly level, and not be where you think you are. But again, all of these little clips were throughout the whole year of 2020, a little bit of 2021. I didn't even use all the footage I had for 2020 because this video would have been way, way too long. And again, you'll see me try to focus my camera a lot of times to try to get the best focus as possible. And this distortion is just something horrendous. Again, it has a lot to do with hiding the true horizon, because everything is bending up, everything is getting displaced, and hidden within that mirroring effect. And that's one thing that I say, that if you consider that you have magnification on like I said, on some of the days where I got really good visibility, I feel like everything's being magnified to a certain point. So it's like going to the eye doctor and getting fitted for glasses. They put the different lenses in front of your eyes, and the guy's got this, like a rack of them, and he flips one down, flips one up, flips one down, flips one up, flips one down, and he's asking you the whole time, how does that look? How does this look? How does that look? So again, that right there is almost the same thing that you're getting here with it's like nature's lenses being dropped in front of your face. Um, and it's all how we're going to perceive things. Now, some of these, again, I put them in, I sped them up, slowed it down at certain points. But really, there's a couple real good ones in here. And I was going to start out in September 10th, 2018, when I first got the P1000. But again, I would have had so much footage, and I would have had to cut it so short. I don't think a lot of people would have been able to follow it. Again, the video would have been really, really long. It's crazy how I look at this same bird rack every time I go out there and almost get a different appearance of it every time. Now, if science claims that this is being lifted up and brought above the curvature of Earth, you should see some of the other bird racks that I've got that are even farther and the different appearances that they show. The Hernando Beach rack is a good one, for instance. Sometimes it looks huge, sometimes it looks very dinky. Um, and even the Billy Steele's rack, which is one of the other farther racks. It's the farthest rack besides Cutter's Rock. Um, that it makes it's a big difference of the size of it, and you'll see it in one of the clips here. I'm going to point it out. And what's really strange about it is when I on that particular day, the way I see it is basically the size that it should be, unless these lenses are actually making things smaller. And that's a possibility. It's a possibility, but again, I don't think refraction is pulling anything up. If anything, refraction is hiding most of the object. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Seventh one is missing, but you can start seeing the sixth one at the very bottom mirroring the top one, the sixth one. And these have become a little more prevalent when I get a better one. I have one of the Bayport rack, which really looks huge, and you can practically read the lettering on the sign. Some of these you can almost read it, but it was like drawn in so close. Everything was much bigger, wider, bigger, but clear as a bell. Clear as a bell. And again, you know, you can see this mirroring where it's gathering up and clustering all of the these cross member beams together, or it's even mirroring the seventh one at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it's mirroring the seventh one again, and you can almost see the bottom, the sixth one at the bottom mirroring up too. Um, that's why I say the mirroring effect really hides everything in the far background. Your backdrop is all mirrored out. So anything that goes into that mirroring usually, not always, usually gets hidden. A boat goes by, it's cut off. That's not curvature. That's not curvature, folks, because on a clear day of visibility, I can see these boats. And at the very end of this video, I will show you a good example. If you can hack it and hang out long enough to see it, again, I'm showing you that I'm pretty much in the same area. Here's a good example of why I'm not in that corner. It's all full of water. Tide was extreme high tide that particular day, which brought water over the seawall, which filled in, and then the water just sits there until it drains back out. Jeez. Phone, shut up. And again, you can see how much is missing off of this. Like I say, every time I go out, this thing changes and changes and changes. It's a crazy way to look at things, but it is actually reality. Again, look at here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 and 7 is completely missing. It's hidden, even though the water looks higher. That's why I say that the water is being displaced upward, and it appears that the bird rack is being drawn downward. Now, that's why I've been filming from these same locations all the time, is because I want to see the different effects of the light, the bending, the distortion. And in the summertime, sometimes this distortion is so bad you can't even see the rack. The rack is not there. There's so much humidity in the air that you can't even find this rack. Even if I go up on top of the little observation deck that's there, I can't see the rack. So you can imagine why when I get down lower to the water, a lot of times much of that rack is missing. Now there's a boat out there by this rack, but you know I can't even focus in on it because of the distortion. Here's again, this isn't curvature, folks, because I've got boats that are smaller than that, further out than that, from a lower perspective than where I'm at right there. Um, Again, it's this crazy optics. But again, I am not going to say that anything's being pulled up, because it's not. Here's a good example. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the seventh one is gone. I stuck this in because I wanted to show how far out this boat was compared to that last boat, and it's sitting perfectly on the horizon. Nothing's missing. Yes, it's distorted. No, I can't focus on it at full zoom, but you know, back out a little bit and you can see it really nice. And this one here, I am lower to the water. And there's the boat again. Now I try to focus it as best as possible, but again, at full zoom, I can only get that good of a focus on it. Okay, look at here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Seventh one is there. You can barely see it. Probably a high tide. But where's, you know, you would say, well, where's the water beyond it? Well, if I would have went back into my 2018, 2019 footage, I could show you water well beyond, which I have already made videos. You can find them on my channel, where you can see that that same bird rack has water well beyond it, because there's boats that are well beyond it. Obviously, you can see it. Here's where, you know, there's a lot of light. I got my camera settings as best I can. You know, you get this red sky sometimes, different angle of light sometimes. It really makes it tough to focus on things. And again, you know, here's this boat that's going to come by, and it's all distorted out. But look how much farther back that boat is than that rack. And you can see water well beyond it. If it was a great focus day, I could really see it. Again, here's the one where, you know, the bird rack itself appears to be bigger, magnified, I say. You know, some people might disagree with me, but this is definitely magnified in my books. And again, like I said, I've got some that are even more magnified, where it looks much wider, same height but wider, but you can see all the horizontal support beams. Seventh one is just mixed with the reflection of the seventh one. You can see how that light is being bent upward beyond those rocks. But the mirroring starts in front of that bird rack. That means everything beyond it will be pretty much cut off. I should have done this a long time ago with just this rack. I mean, you can see me trying to focus the best I can on it. And again, different lighting effects. You know, throughout the year, the sun moves across the horizon from the left side of this bird rack to the right side. So I'm going to get different effects. I got a real cool one coming up. I did a video with it. Um, and I don't think people realize the importance of that video because it really does show um, how this light is bending up and how the mirroring effect is hiding all the water, the horizon beyond it, because it's cutting off a lot. But the funny thing is it's cutting everything off from beyond the bird rack. Because the bird rack, you'll see it's sitting in the water, or the water itself is so calm, it's kind of like reflecting um, the sky above. It's going to come up in the next clip. And I did some of these, like this one, I sped it up so you could see how where I'm located, kind of. But these boats, you can really see them in the water. But this is the part where it's been up, and I changed the brightness. I took the brightness down to where you can really see it, and you'll see me. I'll focus in on it. I left this a longer clip. Um, Now you can draw your own conclusions whether or not um, where the mirroring starts, where it stops. But there is some major bending of light here. And I don't think that a lot of people recognize this. One person does. He Carmody, I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'm not really sure, but all of that light that's being bent upward there is this is actually really displacing or bending everything way up and displacing everything beyond the bird rack. Now this is directly underneath the sun, and if you look, it's a mirror image. I mean, you got to really look because you got to think about how the surface is bending upward. Now there is the rack, Billy Steele's rack. I know it is because it's always right beside this sign, and sometimes everything is pulled down. That the bird rack is down below the sign and it's barely sticking up. You can't see it, but on this particular day, there it is, simply in the water, and it's at its true size, which is really weird because when I go back over here to the Bayport bird rack, you'll see a different appearance of it. It looks kind of magnified. Or is it the true size? I leave that up to you because it does look smaller to a certain point, but yet there it is. Am I getting a haze at one side, different angle of light, changing everything? Look, you can see the birds out there, and look at the background. Now, if a boat's back there, you'll see it, but it will look like it's floating in the air because everything is kind of mirroring the sky. And there went one boat in front of it. Now he's coming in by the channel. He went right by it. And another example, this one here, I'm seeing way out into the horizon, much further into the horizon. And this is actually the same footage, but after everything's settled down a little bit, sun has set, and now you've seen the bird rack just before that, right? Okay, watch what happens to this bird rack when things are settling down. It really manipulates its bird rack. Check it out. Everything's compressed upward, kind of. But look at the size of it too. It's at a different size. Now that's full zoom, and you can see all 7 of the slots. Check that one out for size. So that is a little bit different on how, instead of everything being stretched downward, it's kind of stretched upward a little bit. But look at, you can see the water beyond, and I do believe that it goes well beyond this rack. that I stuck this one in here. This was a time lapse that I did, but I wanted you to watch the background and watch the clouds and how everything's mirroring. And it's like a fun house. I think I live in a house of mirrors, or the horizon is like a house of mirrors. Can be, depending on the visibility. And another thing I want people to do is go out and try to research how they come up with your visibility limits, how they figure your visibility limits through the marine forecast or the weather. There's a you can go to a site, I think, find it yourself. I'm not going to link it because there were so many of them, but I wanted to put this footage in here. This is the longest footage. So if you've held out and waited this long, that is a sign that's about 10 foot tall, well offshore. Now, yes, it is a little bit magnified, but there's going to be a boat that I'm going to pick out, and I think um, I think I already found it. What we want to do is track that boat, but I want to show you the bird rack too. So hang on here. I got this sped up 3 times the speed, this last footage. And I did that because, again, man, I think these were 2 14-minute videos. When you play it at regular speed, wow, what a difference. That is North Bayport Rack. There's 2 signs out by it. It's over 7 miles away. I think it's close to 8. It's almost as far out as Billy Steele's. But you've seen the difference of the size of it compared to the last video. Big difference. And again, check this boat out. You can literally see people walking in the boat. And I call this the compressed horizon. That boat is being displaced downward, even though you can see it on the water. It is being displaced downward because there should be water well beyond this. Again, watch toward the back of that boat, and you'll see some people walking around. But you can see the nets of this boat well offshore. This is a shrimp boat. He's got his nets out. You can see them dangling. And you can literally see that they're dangling off the water. That boat is quite a ways out there. And here's the boat. That was the boat that I'll be tracking shortly. Check it out. Check out when it goes by the Bayport Rack. Look at the size of it. Zoom! You got to be quick with your eye because like I said, I got this 3 times the speed. But look at that. You can almost read what's on that sign. Again, I think this is magnified, brought in closer. It should literally be a smaller rack. And the more I check this with some of my other footage, days where I had really excellent visibility, it does look different. But visibility is one thing. You can still, you got distortion. You can have good visibility, but still have distortion. And that's one of the funny things is that distortion is what really doesn't allow you to focus. So it's like just having a bad pair of glasses or bad vision to where, an object that's too far away. Okay, it's like being farsighted and nearsighted. If you're farsighted, you might not be able to see what's up close. If you're nearsighted, you can't see what's farther away. So, again, it's like going to the eye doctor and all these different lenses popping up in front of you at all different distances too. Think about that. You hold your glasses out in front of you, and look through them, you might see things magnified. You put them on and they're not quite as magnified. So depends on how far away your eyes are from this lensing. It creates these kind of illusions. Now I will pull away from this boat and go back and look at that smaller boat, I believe, just because I'm curious of a boat that's even farther out there. Here it is. And again, watch the guys in the back. You'll see them moving. I wish I could have got a little better focus, but look at that. You can see his net dangling off the water. And that when those guys are out there, that net ain't far off the water anyhow. But look at that. You can still see the gap in between it. So there's really nothing missing on it. And yeah, again, you can see the guys moving. I try to get the best focus I can on it. And do I think that's magnified? Yes, I do believe it is just a little bit. And that's why it looks pulled down somewhat. Now again, here's this boat. I catch back up to it and watch it get smaller and smaller and smaller. And I'll tell you, I'm really close to the water here. Again, I'm a low perspective kind of guy. So when I'm doing these videos, I'm always hunched down, kills my back. But you know what? I do it for my own personal observational research, because I have to start questioning what science claims, what my observations show, what my observations prove. Now, again, would you really think that that's being pulled up above the curvature of Earth? And again, this is one of the ones where this boat rides on that same water line forever and ever and ever, and it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Now there's a bush to my right at this park that once these get into that bush, I kind of quit tracking them because they're going to get so small I won't be able to see them once they come out the other side of that bush. Or maybe I would, but I probably wouldn't be able to focus well on it. But look at this. I mean, amazing, amazing. There's the bush to the right. And I'm going to continue to track this boat. Look, you can actually see the wake. I turned the light up a little bit so you can see the wake of this boat coming off the bottom of the boat. Look at that. You can still see the wake. And that's what's crazy. They want to say that this is being lifted up and projected above. That's one of the signs for the North Bayport rack that you've seen earlier in one of the other videos. Check this out. This is again one of the days where I have good visibility. At least up to 8 miles visibility. Because otherwise I wouldn't be seeing the North Bayport rack. But again, kind of some crazy stuff. When I get to that bush right there, I'm going to slow it down to the regular speed for the very last part of this. And let you make your own choice of what you see. I let you be the judge. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind, try to change your opinion. If you think that this thing is being lifted up by some magical force of refraction instead of being more hidden most of the time due to refraction, more or less hiding the objects, not allowing you to see them. Again, look at this. I'm looking through the crack of a bush, and I can still see that boat. Wahoo. Now, people can go through gradients, try to figure this out scientifically, but there's no standard refraction. Obviously, There's no standard refraction, and if refraction was pulling stuff up from behind the curve, um, why would it look so clear on one day and so bad on another day? And why would this bird rack be really visible on visible days and hidden on the bad days? So it's telling you right there that if you go out and you do your own research, you're going to find that science is bullshitting you. They're telling you something to believe because you will just accept it, you will believe it, and you won't even take your own visual observations and use them to your advantage to know what's really, really going on out there, folks. Again, if you lasted this long through my video, thanks for sticking with me. Want to use it, use it. Don't. It doesn't matter. I just try to do my best to bring you good results.